anybody who listens to this and says, oh, she must be a nutter because she goes to therapy. Okay. But if somebody is going to lash out on that, then I would say you probably need some therapy because I don't spend my time online making nasty comments about other people. I have way better things to do with my time. And if that's what you spend your time doing, you probably need some help. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. All right, hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Female Health Solution podcast. I am your host, Dr. Beth Westy. Today, I want to talk about therapy and your hormones, why this can be really important, and I'm going to talk about myself and use myself as a personal example. I am very transparent with a lot of things that I share on the interwebs, which of course puts yourself at risk for some people not liking what you say or how you say it or whatever. So if for some reason this message rubs you the wrong way, then it's not meant for you. Okay. All right. Just so we're clear on that. But again, I talk about this from a personal angle, and I can tell hundreds of clinical stories, meaning women that I have worked with, talked to, and been there alongside their journey as they go through health changes that they are making. I am eating better, I am exercising, etc. And what else happens in their life that leads them to starting therapy? I literally had this conversation with someone 5 days ago. This exact same conversation, where as we talk about making health improvements in our life, and she was really struggling with certain things and feeling guilty and feeling shamed, and then she'd get off track. And I do a lot of mindset work in my programs. They're in my 12-week program, the Female Hormone Solution program that I have. There is a weekly call where it is all about mindset and neurology and how your brain works and all of these things. And I have worked on these things personally. So I talk about the things that I have been assisted by, helped by, and that I have seen help with hundreds and thousands of other women. So when I talk about this gal that was saying, oh my gosh, I was just really struggling and I was getting let off track and all of these things, what do I do? And I said, it sounds like someone is not respecting your boundaries around what you are putting your time, your energy, your effort into right now. So you may need to create a different boundary around this so that you can be successful. You are doing everything to set yourself up for success, and this other person in your life is not supportive of how hard you're working. So she set a boundary, and it showed her more things about this person that she was not quite aware of. So I said, that's normal, right? And so she started seeing a counselor. And she said that the counseling sessions, and she'd only been to 2 or 3 so far. And again, this was 5 days ago, our conversation. And she was like, that is so helpful in everything I'm dealing with and everything I'm going through. And I was like, absolutely. So, and again, I'm not going to speak necessarily to someone else's story on this. I will just talk about mine. I will talk about my story and going through counseling and therapy and things like that. I started therapy 13 or 14 years ago as a grown adult, after I had had all of my children, and when they were still very little, and I started therapy, and it was really a very wild experience. I did EMDR therapy for 3 years, and then did other forms of therapy after that. Had some very traumatic things occur in my life, which I'll talk about upcoming here. I talked about on my episode 50 way back, and I'm going to be revisiting that. So stay tuned for that stuff, because I'm going to be dropping. I'm like mentally preparing for this, by the way, to like talk about the things I'm going to talk about in that episode, because I haven't revisited it since then, since episode 50. And this is like 5 years ago. Lots of things to catch you guys up on. Anyway, so I went through these very traumatic events in my life, and, then started a different type of therapy, QNRT. And again, I am not like an ambassador for any of these things or whatever. I'm just honestly sharing things that I did that were really helpful. The QNRT was really helpful because I had tried some EMDR again and it wasn't quite hitting like I needed it to, so to speak. And the QNRT, I had night terrors for about a year and a half as a grown adult in her mid 30s, late 30s, was having night terrors, not nightmares, night terrors. And the QNRT really helped with that. And so we did QNRT for the whole family did for about 5 years. Yep. And then for the last 3 years, we've been doing a different type of therapy. It's more talk therapy. Anyway, so throughout all of these things, I have done different types of therapy. I have seen different practitioners. I have had amazing experiences with it. And that's not to say I've had all positive experiences. Sometimes going to therapy really sucks. Sometimes going to therapy, it messes you up for a few days before you kind of regulate yourself again and can turn things around. Going to therapy, the overall outcome and goal was always really helpful for me. And again, I'm sharing from my perspective because that's what I can speak to the most. I'm a very logical person. I have a really hard time getting in touch with my feelings. Like I think I don't have any and I make jokes about it. And that's my way of coping. So it's so funny. I don't have feelings. So in terms of like, I was not like a blubbering mess going into therapy and being like, oh, I can't, this is my husband and this is my family. And I was like, okay, I have this problem and it's a me problem. I need tools to figure out how to deal with some of this stuff. And originally learning about that stuff and like figuring out how to calm my nervous system down was really key. So I started therapy because I was experiencing, I don't even know the word to call it. Maybe somebody knows exactly what this manifestation was, but I was experiencing physical manifestations that I could not control. It was like a reflex when something would trigger. I would hear a cupboard slam, and not in an angry way, not in a purposeful way. Like it could be one of my kids in the kitchen doing something, cupboard slams, and I freeze and freak out. And my stomach drops to my butt and my legs feel really heavy and I feel dizzy and nauseous instantaneously. And it kept happening and it kept happening and it kept getting worse. Different things, different sounds. It wasn't all loud sounds. It was certain things. And I was like, oh, this is a problem. This is not normal. I'm starting to be a weirdo about this. And what actually started me going was that I had other people in my life being like, you good? What are you doing over there? And I was like, I literally don't know. Like I legit can't tell you. And then besides being kind of embarrassed about that or, just unsure of myself on what was going on, I was like, yeah, I got to figure this out. This clearly red flags here. So I decided to start therapy and then started to be able to learn how to physically process things. This is the EMDR. Started to physically learn more about what was going on to cause some of these triggers and signals and things like that. And then started to uncover a lot more about myself and then how my physical body responded. And this also played a huge role in how it impacted my hormones, my cortisol response, how I slept, how I was able to rest and repair, all of those things. I have autoimmune issues, which is not a surprise based on my history. So the relationship with my cortisol and hormone response and my autoimmune flare-ups, very closely connected, right? So I learned more about my system, how it responded, how to start setting boundaries, how to start moving through life in a way that was going to support myself instead of constantly putting myself in these positions where I was being, I don't want to just say triggered, but exposed and suffering and not knowing why and not knowing what to do about it. Going to therapy at the same time I was working on my physical health, allowed me to move through a lot of different things. That was the origin of it. When I went through a horrifically traumatic experience almost 8 years ago now, I started therapy again, right? Or again, a different type of therapy. And I really started working on my physical health because at that time I lost so much physical strength. I had a lot of health things going on, autoimmune flare ups, all of these things. I had physical strength issues. I couldn't do a lunge without losing my balance and falling over. I've been an athlete my whole life. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I got a scholarship to play volleyball in college. I played football, right? I've been an athlete and I couldn't do a lunge because I would fall over. It reverted me back to, I got a concussion when I was in college. I got smacked in the head from a volleyball and knocked me out cold. Concussion. And I remember training. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I had a brain injury. I remember feeling ridiculous. Like, because again, with a concussion, being like, I'm fine. I was not fine. But I couldn't read straight. Like things were inverted or like looked backwards to me. It was crazy. And I remember being in the training room and the trainer, her name was Kim. Kim was awesome. And she put me on the stationary bike and she was like, okay, we're going to just kind of monitor your heart rate and see how you're doing. And I started biking and I fell off the bike. And she was like, Beth, come on, what are you doing? And I was like, what? How did I get down here? And she's like, because I was such a jokester. And she was like, come on, get back up here. And I literally would start moving my legs and I'd like tip right off the bike. And she's like, okay, get off the bike. Like she realized I wasn't doing it on purpose, right? That's what it felt like when I, post-traumatic incident, trying to do lunges. And again, this is 7 years ago, 8 years ago, me trying to physically move my body. I had a really hard time with it. But again, going to therapy at the same time helped me put back my life together, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. And that helped me regulate my body, regulate my cortisol hormone over time. It doesn't happen overnight. And I don't want you to be afraid of therapy or things like that, or to think that, this is a weakness if you need to talk to somebody. Getting therapy, talking about mental health used to be so stigmatized. And now more and more people do it. And again, anybody who listens to this and says, oh, she must be a nutter because she goes to therapy. Okay. But if somebody is going to lash out on that, then I would say you probably need some therapy because I don't spend my time online making nasty comments about other people. I have way better things to do with my time. And if that's what you spend your time doing, you probably need some help. Like I feel sad for you that's right. But it's a lot of people think that way, or they think it's okay to think that way because getting therapy was like for crazy people or something.